Hi, it's Peter here. I just picked up the Olympus 9mm F8 Body Cap lens. Let's have some fun with it. I've been mainly indoors lately and wanted to go out and photograph. So it was a perfect timing for me picking up this lens, and finally I found it with a quite reasonable price, because I've been looking for this lens for a longer period of time, and finally I have it. I do have the 15mm body cap lens from Zuiko, which I've been using every now and then. It's a fun lens and wanted to find out how fun this 9mm lens is. It's a fully manual lens and the fixed aperture is f8, so it's not the fastest lens in the world, and it's all plastic, so I'm not really waiting to see that crispy look that you can get from better lenses. But I think the simplicity of the lens makes it a lot of fun. I really did not have any specific subject in mind when I went out shooting. Usually I do have some kind of an assignment for myself, because that makes it a lot easier to start. There's a starting point when you have an assignment. But I will continue doing my urban exploring and photographing the urban scenes on different types of places. That is something that I really love to do in the cities. It's my favorite genre when talking about outdoors and in the cities. I just kind of like to be in the city, and especially when it gets a bit darker. That's my moment. I don't know why, but I'm really drawn into the darker times of the day when I'm photographing in the city. But of course this might not be the perfect lens for that, because it is f8. The settings that I have is of course the aperture priority, which I 99% of the times have. This time I have auto ISO, and I have set the auto ISO shutter limit to 1/20th of a second. And when there is a need for a longer shutter speed, then the camera will start increasing the ISO. But all the way up to 1/20th of a second it will use as low ISO as possible. This is a good way of controlling the auto ISO, and I don't mind if auto ISO goes all the way up to 25,600, because I'm using the OM1 and that's a usable ISO on this camera. At least for me, because I really like the look and feel from that image. And the best part of this is that the image holds together, so I can really use it. And that's the biggest advantage of OM1 compared to the older models. The high ISO performance is much better. Now that I have made some images, let's look at the image quality. And as you can see from this image, when you look at it like this, you don't see any really bad faults in the image quality. But of course we have to remember that this is only a plastic lens that costs less than 100 euros/dollars. We're not expecting stellar image quality or top notch. But if we look at the middle here, yeah, it's totally fine. And it's a raw image, as you see from the text. Yeah, I know, bad joke. And if we look at the 100%, of course, you can see that it's not sharp at all. But is it good enough? Yes, I think it is. Highlights are a bit smushy, so they kind of like overlap. And there is, of course, some problems with that. But then if we go here to the other corners that is in shadow, I don't think it's pretty bad. You know, it is, of course, not that sharp as it could be if it was a, let's say, proper lens. But I think this image tells us a lot of that image quality, and I think it's totally fine. Then let's take another image. And here is an image that is taken against the sun. As you can see, the sun was right there and there is some flares, and I think the image quality is quite good. This is focused closer, so that's why there is some background blur, which is of course not much, but there is still, and that's why this is so blurry here. And then we have this image inside from Helsinki railway station. And as you can see, the dark areas copes quite well, and then of course the bright areas, you can get quite good image quality out of that. Of course, as like I said, it's not perfect. And this one I used ND64, or the Live ND ND64. That's why there is some motion blur on the people. I wanted to have some feeling to the image. But let's go back outside and make some more images with the Zuiko 9mm f8 body cap lens. Like I already predicted, as you saw also, that the image is not the sharpest in the world. So the lens is not the sharpest lens in the world, which was very much expected because, of course, it is a plastic lens and everything is plastic. But as a around $100/euros lens, I think it's a very good value for the money because it's a fun lens, it's easy to use, it's very carefree photography, if that's something that you might want to do. You don't have to think about that much when you photograph with this. I mean, when I say not think about that much is about the settings. You just fire away and you can concentrate only on the image itself, the subject, the story and everything. Nothing distracts you from actually making the image. Because sometimes when you have really complicated gear and a lot of lenses, all your time goes to picking up the right lens, thinking about, is this the right focal length for me right now? Should I use this? Should I use that? And all that is away from actual thinking of the image. And that's why sometimes it's really important to narrow down the options. You only have the camera and one lens. It can be something else, of course. It doesn't have to be one of these cheap plastic lenses. But what I mean is that having a simple and easy to use gear for photography might get you some better images and images that have a lot more meaning. The recommendations is that sometimes go out with only one lens and limit yourself. That will make your images most likely a lot better. Like I said in the beginning, Olympus also has a 15mm f8 body cap lens. And I've made a couple of videos about it and you can watch them from there. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.